I'm Roy Gagney from Promotional Opportunities. Today we're going to talk about our dress a little bit, we're going to talk about our body language, and we're going to talk about just some general tips to use in your interview process. So first we'll talk about dress. So of course you're going to be going in a suit, all right? A suit or your Class A if you're going for that promotion. The key is make sure it fits. We've seen this time and time again that everybody waits until that interview comes up, and then all of a sudden they put it on and it's either too big, too small, or what have you. So stained, everything has been seen before. So make sure it fits, make sure it looks good, make sure it's all pressed, okay? One thing to remember for those promotional candidates is you want to make sure that you have everything on your uniform, on your Class A that you're supposed to. So if you're going for that lieutenant's position and the person before you walks in and says to the panel, I have 17 years on the job, and they have all of their years of service hashtags on their sleeve, and then you walk in and you say, I have 20 years of service on the job, and you don't have those, they're going to wonder why. They're going to wonder if you don't have pride in that uniform, pride in the job. So make sure that you have all of your adornment, all of your badges match, all of your rank that you're supposed to have if you're going for a higher rank than what you were going for previously. Just make sure that everything on your uniform is correct per your department standard. Next thing we want to talk about is having good eye contact in your interview. So most of the time, you're going to get two separate ways of the question being asked to you. Either the panel is going to ask you the question, or you're going to be asked the question or asked to read the question and then answer the question into the camera, okay? There may be a panel, there could be a camera watching you, and then they'll assess you later. Either way, if you're watching the camera, look at the camera, or at least look above the camera, below the camera, around that camera. If that makes you nervous, I understand. So just make sure that you are comfortable where you're looking so that you're addressing them and almost giving them eye contact through that camera. If there is a panel and those people are asking you that question, make sure that you start answering the question with the person who asked the question and then cycle through everybody else on that panel. You don't want to leave anybody out. You want to make sure that you're addressing each person because they're all grading you. It's very important that they're all included in that process. Now, what I like to do is I like to end my response on the person who asked me the question again. It just shows the panel that you know who's asking you the question, they're all grading you, and that you're showing that respect to that person. The next thing you try to want to avoid is a lot of fidgeting. Now, I like to talk with my hands, okay? But in an interview, it's very distracting. So if you're sitting there and you're talking with your hands excessively, practice. Practice before you go into that interview. Have people in your family help you out with that. Sit in front of them. Practice not using your hands. Practice not fidgeting in your chair. If they give you a chair that has wheels or spins, work on that. Make sure that you're not moving in the chair. Make sure you're not, wiggling and bouncing up and down and all that stuff. It's very distracting for those panelists to grade you on your content and what you're verbally saying when they're watching something else. So just some general tips now we'll talk about. Please, under every circumstance possible, avoid gender references. You want to say firefighter or officer or lieutenant or captain or deputy chief, things of that nature. You don't want to say fireman, okay? You don't know who's on your panel. You don't know, the struggles that it takes to get there. So make sure that you eliminate the gender references from your response. One big thing we always talk about is be humble, okay? It's great that you have higher education, or it's great that you have a bunch of academy classes. It's fantastic. But how did you get that, right? One thing that we always talk about is being on the department, and I take a certain class, the department afforded me the opportunity to take this class, and I took that opportunity. Give credit where credit's due. If they're paying for the class, give credit. Be humble about that, okay? It's okay. You don't want to shove everything down their throat, right? If you have a higher education and everything in that respect, that's great. You want to say it, be humble, but be confident at the same time. So, for example, I have a master's degree in organizational communication and leadership, okay? And then move on. We don't have to dwell on it. You don't have to sit there and repeatedly say it over and over again. Just move on. They heard you, they're jotting, they're taking their notes, okay? So be humble, but be confident. Another tip that we like to talk about is stay away from dates, all right? So if you're giving a response to your job, right? Your previous work experience, or you're going for that promotion and you want to tell them how long you've been a part of that department, don't give them a date. So I don't want to say, I started on September 15th of 2009, right? Because what is everybody on that panel doing now? They're doing the math. They're no longer listening to you, okay? So if you're going to do something like that and you want to tell them how long you've been doing a job, or whether it's a previous job experience and you're becoming a firefighter, you want to make sure that you say, I've been in this position for so many years, okay? No dates. Don't get defensive either. If they're asking you a follow-up question, if it's more of a conversational interview, like the chief's interview or an unstructured interview, and they're asking you to clarify or describe something in more detail, just please don't get defensive. They're only doing it to try to draw out those dimensions that we're going to be talking about. So it's very important just to answer the questions, again, in a humble and confident manner, and move along. And please, we've seen this before too, don't swear and don't use jargon. A lot of departments, they don't understand the jargon of where you're previously working. If you were working in the tree service, or you were working as a mechanic, or you were working in a restaurant, they may not know that lingo or that jargon. So stay away from that. And even stay away from the jargon of your own department if you're going for promotion. If your department calls a rapid intervention team, a RIT, or an RIC, a rapid intervention crew, the panel isn't part of your department. Normally, the panel is always chosen from outside your department to be objective. So if you're using the jargon that your department uses, they may not know what you're talking about. Now, most of the people that are on the panel will have been in the fire service for a little bit of time, and they probably will pick up on it, they will be able to decipher, but rather than having them try to decipher it while you're giving your response, you want them to be listening to the response that you're giving.